Se-Eun continued questioning Ms. Lee, pressing her on how she managed to leave Class 1. Ms. Lee, now visibly nervous, realized the students were beginning to suspect her. She stammered, "What?" Karen noticed the shift in attitude. Just moments ago, everyone was defending Ms. Lee, yet now they were growing wary of her. She couldn't help but wonder what has changed. Se-Eun pointed out an inconsistency. Ms. Lee had said earlier that she was in the middle of teaching Class 1. However, Se-Eun remembered that the broadcast occurred near the end of the fourth period. Her friend, who was in Class 1, had borrowed her textbook during their Korean class that period. So, Ms. Lee, when the siren went off, you must have already been in Class 1, right? Se-Eun pressed further. Ms. Lee quickly defended herself, claiming she couldn't have been there since she was teaching first years during the third period. But she admitted the students were behaving strangely, and out of fear, she had left. She wandered the halls, recalling Karen's class and feeling worried about their safety. Se-Eun interrupted, her tone sharp. That's strange. Ms. Lee had previously claimed she was injured while helping a student in Class 1. Their class wasn't far from there, yet when Mihui stepped into the hallway after the siren, she hadn't seen Ms. Lee. The students murmured in agreement. Mihui's voice broke through, realization dawning on her. Oh yeah, now that I think about it, we didn't see you. Se-Eun added, you were outside just moments ago, asking for help. So why didn't you ask for help before then? Ms. Lee shook her head. You're mistaken. I was in Class 1 at the time. Se-Eun didn't let up. Then why didn't you bring even a single student with you? If you really tried to help, like you claimed, shouldn't you have managed to save at least one person? Se-Eun's words initially seemed reasonable, but in reality, there were too many holes. Depending on the circumstances, her statements could be refuted. But Se-Eun was skilled at manipulating rumors, making it nearly impossible for Ms. Lee to argue back. Especially if the other person was lying. Se-Eun continued, her voice unwavering. In a situation like that, wouldn't it have made more sense to try escaping outside? The students froze, processing her words. A realization hit them, they had been deceived. Fear spread through the group as they stepped back from Ms. Lee, the same woman they had just defended. Ms. Lee's eyes darted around the students, before snapping at Se-Eun. Are you trying to argue with me? You're doubting me? Se-Eun's expression remained firm. No, we just want to know the truth. Like Karen said earlier, we need to be certain. So, Ms. Lee, tell us what really happened. Ms. Lee's voice cracked. What's with you all? You don't believe me? I've always been good to you. How can you turn on me like this? Still refusing to tell the truth. Ms. Lee, Hannah Du said. We saw everything you did in Class 1. I've already uploaded the video to our group chat. Ms. Lee clutched her injured arm. Miss Lee's voice trembles as she tries to defend herself. A video that Hannah uploaded to the group chat shows Miss Lee after she left Class 1. In the video, she insists that she wasn't bitten, even though the zombies are merely walking past her rather than attacking her. Desperately, she asks why they are just passing by her when she is human. When the outbreak started, she had been in Class 1. The students had noticed the blood on her arm and asked if she was okay. As she asked for band-aids, she told the students that a first-year student had bitten her out of nowhere, even questioning if the biting was some kind of joke. The students urged her to go to the nurse's office, but she refused as the class was already behind schedule. So, she wanted to keep teaching. But then, the broadcast played. It warned them that infected students with blue skin were attacking others. It instructed them to run if they encountered anyone like that. Class 1's students then remembered that Ms. Lee has said that a student had bitten her. They also noticed that she's been exhibiting the symptom that the broadcast said. She was coughing. Panic erupted. The students screamed at her, telling her to leave the classroom, as she has been infected. Terrified and panicking, Ms. Lee defends herself, voice shaking. I'm not like them. I swear I'm not like them. But in her panic, she threw open the door to prove to them that she's different. The moment she did that, the zombies flooded in. Chaos consumed the room as the zombies attacked the students. No one made it out alive except Ms. Lee, who's still muttering that she's different from the zombies and not like them. Back to the present. Ms. Lee was trembling from anger, her body slowly succumbing to the infection. I'm different, she muttered repeatedly. Karen's breath hitched. The infection was spreading faster. Ms. Lee's emotions were accelerating the process. Then, Ms. Lee's voice rose in desperation. Why are you doing this to me? Look at Karen, she has a bite mark on her hand. Why aren't you saying anything about her? Shinbi replied to Ms. Lee. We've been with Karen the whole time. We know she's not infected. Ms. Lee's breath quickened. Even so, don't you know what she's like in class? All she cares about is impressing boys. You girls, I know you don't even like her. So why are you standing up for her? Why are you doing this to me? Girls like you, Karen, girls like you. Karen watched, knowing Ms. Lee was simply reaping what she had sown. Students liked adults who were kind, but they didn't like adults who acted like children. Ms. Lee's emotions spiraled, her transformation accelerating. Then, she lunged at Karen. Karen barely had time to react before Mihui stepped in front of her. Karen gasped at Mihui, action. Her eyes closed as she fell. When she opened her eyes, Mihui had fallen to the floor, and Ms. Lee was being pinned down. Cherim Lee held her down, gripping a hammer tightly. Sorry, Ms. Lee, Cherim whispered. Then, she swung the hammer down. Ms. Lee went still, as blood were splattered across the floor. A heavy silence fell over them. Some students turned away, unable to look. Getting up, Cherim said to her classmates, we need to clean this up. We can't just leave her here. Let's take her outside. Karen asked Cherim worriedly, are you okay? As Cherim slowly turned her head to answer Karen, her face was being revealed little by little. Her skin was already blue. She's not the Ms. Lee we knew anymore. Cherim answered, her eyes moist with tears as she just ended Ms. Lee. They decided to throw Ms. Lee's body out of the window to keep themselves safe from the zombies. Cherim turned to her classmates and said, now that we've thrown her out, I think we should be fine for now. After she spoke, silence filled the room for a few minutes. Karen suddenly broke the silence, saying, what is this? I mean, do you really think we can just? What exactly just happened here? Hearing this, Se-eun Ham looked at Karen and responded, what do you mean? We only followed your lead. You never told us anything, and you've been making all the decisions by yourself. Hannah looked into the situation and told us what happened to the student from class 1. Try to see things from our perspective. How would you feel if something significant happened, but you were completely left in the dark? You'd probably feel anxious, afraid, and start questioning whether you can really trust everyone around you. Karen is silent as she can't refute everything that Se-eun said. Se-eun continued, we know you're putting your life on the line to help us. And about what you said coming from the future, I believe you, at least to some extent. You prove yourself through your actions. But still, something about you feels distant. You're doing everything you can to help us, but I can't figure out why I feel this way. As Karen listens to Se-eun's grievances, she answered Se-eun in her mind, it's probably because of everything I've done so far, how all of you have treated me, and the way the original story in the book was set up. But even if I told them all of this, would they still trust me? It would only make things even more chaotic than they already are. Karen then spoke up, I understand why you're all worried. I think I've been too focused on leading everyone on my own. I'll try to change that. Se-eun responded, no, that's not what I meant. Karen continued, I know. You probably want to understand me better. Just like Cherim said, you have valid reasons to doubt me. But I also have my own reasons for not being able to reveal everything. Please try to understand. Then, she smiled at them sadly. Se-eun looked at Karen and said, "That's not what I was trying to say. We just want you to trust us, even a little. We don't want you to carry all these burdens alone. It's true that we didn't like you before, but after everything that's happened, I don't even understand why we hated you so much back then. I think the others feel the same way." Mihui chimed in, "Hey, I liked Karen from the beginning." Many of their classmates immediately reacted, saying, "Mihui, you're such a liar." Karen couldn't help but laugh at their reaction. However, deep down, she thought, even if I'm laughing now, there's something you all don't know. Some of you still don't trust me completely. So how could I possibly reveal everything to you? Stretching her arms, Cherim spoke up, "So, are we done with the serious talk? Now that I feel a little more relaxed, I realize I'm starving. It's almost dark. I don't think we'll make it to the shop tonight." Hannah-do nodded. "Yeah, let's just sleep here for the night." Jin-wei groaned. "But I'm so hungry." Yeri grabbed her bag and said, "I have some snacks in my backpack." Everyone was shocked that Yeri's letting them eat her snacks. Seonyang started searching her locker and exclaimed, "Wait a second. I found some choco pies in a locker." Everyone's excited at the thought of eating a choco pie. Someone then asked, "Did anyone bring anything else?" Another classmate sighed, "If only we could go to the bathroom to get some water." Someone else spoke up, "I brought some barley tea this morning." "Me too. Here, I have some chocolate. I brought some snacks as well. I picked up some milk on my way here this morning. I have some candy." They gathered all their food together. Mihui chuckled, "Wow, it's like we're having a midnight snack party." Someone laughed and responded, "That's what's on your mind right now." Hee hee. Meanwhile, Shinbi Yun remained silent, looking deep in thought. Someone in the group said, "Still, at least we aren't starving to death. Let's eat and get some rest. We should leave for the shop early in the morning." Hannah-do suddenly had an idea and said, "Why don't we check the classroom next door?" After hearing her suggestion, everyone exchanged glances. Cherim took the initiative and opened the window, while Mihui held a camera broom, keeping watch just as they did when they went to the principal's office. After a few minutes, Cherim returns to their classroom carrying supplies. Their classmates eagerly asked, "How did it go?" Cherim simply smiled and gave them a thumbs up. Everyone felt relieved and excited as they looked at what they had found: snacks, phone chargers, blankets, and even some soft toys. It was a success. Meanwhile, Minwoo's group had already reached the shop and secured it as a shelter. While looking through the food, someone said, "Nice. There's still some spicy chicken kimbap left. We did a great job, didn't we? The barricades are set up, and we have enough supplies." Minwoo nodded in approval. "Yeah, great work, everyone." Back in the classroom, the students sat at their desks, sharing their snacks. They didn't have much food left, so they agreed that each of them would only eat one choco pie to save some for tomorrow. Some complained, saying that the chips were too salty and made them thirstier. Jaehyun Young noticed their struggle and said, "Drink only a little, but save some water for tomorrow. We need to endure for now. Tomorrow, we can get more water from the bathroom before we leave." Her words made sense, but they also made some students tear up, realizing how bad their situation was. Hannah-do looked at Cherim, who was holding stuffed toys. Curious, she asked, "Why did you take those?" Cherim said, "Because they're cute, and we can also use them as pillows." Se-eun, Jin-wei, and Mihui each held up a stuffed toy then says, "But we already have one." Jaehyun Young, however, quietly added, "I don't have one." Hannah-do suddenly thought of something and asked, "Is there anyone alive in the classroom next door?" Cherim shook her head, "No, there's no one there." But, she paused, remembering the horrible sight. There were blood splatters, and other things like that. She continued, "If there's one good thing, It's that their faces are so damaged that we can't recognize them. Karen thought about this. It was true, they hadn't seen any zombies they personally knew, except for Ms. Lee. Maybe that was lucky, in a way. Hannah Do held her phone tightly, thinking to herself, I'm sure they escaped. She squeezed the phone harder. That's what I'll keep telling myself. Because there's nothing I can do to save them. Even if I told them, even if I warned them, it wouldn't have changed anything. It's not my fault. Jaehyun Young noticed Hannah Do's troubled expression and felt worried for her. Someone spoke up. Let's sleep early. If we wake up early, we can leave early. It would be good if we had a flashlight. Shinbi, can you make one? Shinbi thought for a moment. If we have the right materials, I think I can. Jinseon nodded. We have fluorescent light bulbs and batteries. We just need something that can conduct electricity. Cherim smiled. As expected, Jinseon, you're really smart. But someone pointed out, aren't those light bulbs too long to carry like a flashlight? And they get too hot. But maybe we can use them as weapons. Seonyong Kim suggested, maybe we can find materials in the science lab. We did battery experiments there before. They discussed the design as difficult, but Shinbi wondered, what kind of battery would work for those bulbs? Jaehyun suggests that they can just wrap a piece of paper to their phone's flashlight. Jinseon, Shinbi and Seonyong stared at her in surprise. Jaehyun was dumbfounded that they haven't thought of doing that. As night came, they fixed the classroom for sleeping. The floor had bloodstains, and someone suggested, let's move the desks and roll out the curtain. There's no way we can sleep like this. They pushed the desks aside, rolled out the curtain, and wrapped themselves in blankets. But one person refused to sleep on the floor. Shinbi chose to sleep on the desks instead. Jin Wei lay down and stared at the ceiling. It kind of feels like a field trip. The student beside her sighed. Hey, Haweedle, have you lost it? Karen blinked. Haweedle? The student laughed. Jin Wei's nickname is Haweedle. She's a dolai. Karen thought for a moment. Was Jin Wei's phone the one who got the call before? Is the unknown extra someone who's close to her? One thing for sure, it wasn't Cherim. I had held Cherim's hand earlier and knew it wasn't her. You can hear someone saying, Cherim, your hands are so cold. Cherim sighed. They're always cold. Do you have warm socks? Karen remembered that the unknown extra's hand was warm. A quiet voice broke the silence. I miss my mom. That simple sentence made everyone emotional. Soon, sniffling filled the room. Why did you have to say that? We were all thinking it. I can't help it. I miss her. People outside the school must still be alive, right? But we can only contact people inside the school. What is happening out there? If I knew this was going to happen, I wouldn't have argued with my mom this morning. I wonder how Rena and Yuri are doing. As night fully settled in, everyone's hidden fears came back. Mihui suddenly sat up, crying. Stop worrying, everyone. Worrying won't solve anything. Other classes probably have people like Karen. They'll escape, or survive somewhere. We'll see them again and send messages. Someone said, but that would take a miracle, wouldn't it? Mihui cried even more. Who knows? A miracle could happen. I don't know. Let's just sleep. Let's stay alive and get out of here. Even though they were scared, they curled up under their blankets, thinking about what tomorrow would bring. Somewhere else, others were struggling too. Rena stood in the hallway, near her a bat covered in zombie blood. Minwoo's group was staying in a shop, hoping to survive the night. Yuri was alone on the rooftop. Back in the classroom, someone said, not everyone should sleep at the same time. Someone should keep watch in case something happens. Shinbi volunteered. I can't sleep anyway. Cherim made a decision. Jin Wei, you'll stay up with Shinbi. She handed Jin Wei the sword. Make sure you hold onto this. Jin Wei didn't want to, but she agreed. The night watch was set for 3-hour shifts, with 2 people awake at a time. The next to watch would be Karen and Jaehyun, since they lost at rock paper scissors. Karen sat down, waiting for her turn to on the night watch. While sitting she relievedly thought, finally, this day is over. I call it a day, but it felt like forever. Then looked back on everything that happened in her every loop and today. She then fell completely asleep. There's chaos and blood all over the classroom. Cherum's shaking her awake. As Karen fully opened her eyes, she was surprised on seeing the surrounding. Wake up. We need to leave. Are you hurt? Shinbi is acting strange. She hasn't been normal since she came back to the classroom. There's no time. Let's go. Okay, she replied to Cherum. She then grabbed Cherum's hand and then noticed something. The bracelet on her wrist is from the unknown extra. A voice echoed in her mind. She could hear them, whether she wanted to or not. Shinbi being infected. The familiar bracelet on the wrist. This wasn't possible, but this must be a dream. A dream showing what happened to the unknown extra on that day.